welcome to the Jazz Roundtable, brought to you by Live at 0 BPM, with your host, Grammy Award-winning percussionist and mallet player, Billy Holting. Tonight's guests, Trumpet Night, featuring Wayne Bergeron, Dan Fornero, and Mike Rocha. And we don't charge a cover, but musicians are paid exclusively by your tips, so we strongly encourage you to do so. Just go to live at 0bpm.com/tipjar. You can also tip on Venmo at ZEROBPM. And now, let's get to the music with your host, Billy Holting. And work. Hey, hey everybody out there in internet land. This is so much fun. I wanted to have Wayne on for like a long time. And I also know Dan, and I don't know Mike, but Wayne recommended I have them both on because they all play in the same trumpet section in Gordon Goodwin's big band. So this will be really fun because, you know, we had Gordon on as a guest a while back. But just as a reminder, we are 100% tip-based. No amount is too small. No amount is too large. I'll put the links in the chat rooms and even if you're listening to this as the podcast, which comes out sometime, you can tip. And the tip jar stays up forever if you're watching a repeat of this or whenever you're doing that. But hey, let's get the guys on here. So, hey, it's the trumpet section.
Hey. Heck yeah.
So we have Wayne Bergeron here. Let's see, get some applause for Wayne. And then Dan Fornero and Mike Rocha. So I want to jump into this. We're going to do some fun new stuff tonight. But for those of you who, if you're in the chat rooms, tell us where you're watching from. If you have questions for the guys, that's great. Any comments or anything, I will try to read those on the air as we go through this. But I normally like to start out with the origin stories for each one of you. But I just want to talk about how you guys all know each other and how you met.
Music.
Who wants to start?
I remember when I met Mike Rocha. It was on some gig we were on out some outdoor gig, and there was this trumpet player just playing his ass off before we were supposed to go on, and I'm like, who the heck is that? And that became a fast friendship after that, man. Really impressed very, very early on. Bergeron, I don't remember how we met. I don't remember how we met, Wayne.
Well, you were doing a lot of different stuff way back then, so you don't remember much. But we met playing in some rehearsal bands, and you were in and out of town kind of because you were doing other stuff, but I do know. Speaking of the Big Fat Band, so we were looking for a lead trumpet player because our lead trumpet player, my other lead trumpet player, Dennis Farias, who has passed away now, unfortunately, and was a great player, but he had some issues, and unfortunately, he got fired from the band basically, and we went through a bunch of different lead trumpet players, and Dan Fornero was back in town from being on the road with Phil Collins and Johnny Holiday and these acts he did, and remember him coming into the Jazz Bakery and playing the first night on the band, and after like 3 tunes, I looked at Gordon and I said, "This is the guy," and that's how our relationship rekindled years later, Yeah. And we've been Dan and I have been bosom buddies ever since, and he's my right hand man as far as I'm concerned. And Rocha, did we meet on the Big Fat Band actually? I mean, I knew of your playing because I'd heard you play on maybe that Alan Chang's record, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing a song, man, who the hell is that soloing on that? I didn't know you yet, but I saw the name,
We met briefly in 2006 when you clinicked the college band.
Oh, that's right. Thanks for trying to remember. You were in the college band.
But,
see, I just think of you as an old fuck now.
we're all dressed the same, so it's hard to remember who's who. But yeah, I moved to LA in 2010, and then I want to say we really first got to play in like 2015 together, about then. Yeah, when you were looking for a new jazz player in the Fat Band, brought us together.
So it was the same thing with Mike when he came onto the band from the first solo. We're like, all right, this guy he'll do. This guy will do.
That'll
But
work.
also, besides being a great soloist, Mike can play some lead. but he's also in the Big Fat Band is such a it's a well-oiled machine. So you're coming on as a new player, adapting to how the band plays. And Mike was on board on that very quickly. He's a great reader, and he's like, oh, I got to play this volume, I got to back off, I got to do this, and he was on it very quickly, and it's kind of what we look for, when players are subbing as well. You want somebody that's going to come in that's you have to listen, and
Now,
it's really the job description.
Wayne, did you and Dan start in the Big Fat Band at the same time, or?
No. I've been in the Big Fat Band since it was started.
Yeah.
He came on several years later. And the band's evolved over the years, quite a bit to what it is now. I think it's the best it's ever been.
I came in halfway through the second album, I think was XXL, that you guys did, and I came in halfway through that recording, and I got on.
Yeah. So, but as a trumpet section, we've had a lot of great players. But this group as a section, unfortunately, we don't have Dan Savant with us tonight. The fourth trumpet player was not available; he's too busy.
Wade and I were joking about how the fourth guy is the one who's working tonight.
But he's also, he could buy all of us here.
He could buy and sell all of us. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. He's one of the bigger contractors in town, and a great player and a great cat, and our boss in a lot of ways.
Well, maybe on a future episode, we'll get everybody over here to play together and do some stuff. But that's cool. I just wanted to start out there because LA, so many cats know so many other guys. I just was kind of interested how you guys all met, Now, full disclosure, I know Wayne because we actually toured together for a month or so, way back with Maynard Ferguson. And later on, I'm going to ask Wayne to do an impression of Maynard's warm-up routine. So, but for those of you who don't know Wayne, I imagine we got some people already here in the audience that know you. I'm going to get to the names in a little bit. But Wayne, when I knew you, you were really kind of everybody knew you, but you were still up and coming, and now you kind of do everything. I mean, I'm looking at your resume. And I was joking the other day, it would be easier to say who you haven't played with because it says Ray Charles to Green Day, including Panic at the Disco, Katy Perry, Beyonce, Barbra Streisand, Michael Bublé, Mary J. Blige, and on and on. And you've done over 450 TV and motion picture soundtracks. And you have featured trumpet solos. Could be heard on West Side Story, the 2021, which I haven't seen yet, but I'll look forward to that. Secret Life of Pets 2, La La Land, Rough Night, Ted 2, Minions, and Jersey Boys. And you play at all the award shows in town, right?
I play a lot of. I used to play most of them, and then a lot of them did away with bands. Or things changed. We're still doing the Academy Awards. I've done that for 15 years. This will be my 16th year. And matter of fact, Dan and I are on the Academy Awards coming up here, which is nice.
Now, getting into it, your bio said you had a natural ability for high notes when you started trumpet. How old were you back then?
Well, I was in the 7th grade, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'll just give a quick version of this story because most people have heard it and read it. And but my school got vandalized, and my French horn got destroyed, and I got switched to trumpet. And on the trumpet, because of the shape of the mouthpiece, being a shallower cup than a French horn, I had this kind of instant range. So the first time I picked up a trumpet, I went to, hit a C in the staff. I tried to play something like that, and I got some weird squeaky sounds like, like somebody, jumping on a dog's tail, that kind of sound, and I didn't realize that was good at the time, I just thought I sucked because I couldn't play the note I was trying to play, and it turns out that I could do something that none of the other kids could do at the time, so, my ego just became massive when I finally had something I could do that, because I really sucked at sports. And I didn't have any natural ability at anything, so I could do this weird little trick, and probably why I still play today. And I did get some good guidance along the way because I found out you couldn't get a gig just playing a double high C. You had to be able to play songs and stuff. I found out later, so I had to learn how to play all the notes below that. My range is the same now as it was when I was 12.
Really?
It is.
That just pisses me off.
But I like to think I'm a better trumpet player now, but maybe not.
That just pisses me off.
That's great.
I developed a lot of bad habits. And I developed a lot of bad habits.
Yeah.
Because of that, though.
Now, were you playing in the jazz band in 7th grade? Did they have that, or were you playing in the wind ensemble? What were you doing?
Beginning band and beginning jazz ensemble, Hostler Junior High in Linwood.
Okay.
And my band director was a guy named Ron Savitt. who was a good, like, all-around trumpet player. And he ended up taking me under his wing, and through high school I studied with him, and he kind of helped develop me. And he showed me a lot of really, the coolest things he showed me were to be stylistic, to be able to play different kinds of music convincingly, like play a Dixieland song, or play something and sound like a Baroque trumpet player, or play like, Snooky Young, play a lead trumpet part like that, play like Harry James and Louis Armstrong. So that's what we worked on. We worked on style. And he goes, well, you got range. We don't need to work on that. We're going to work on music. So that's what we did. And we read a ton of music.
Good teacher.
Which was great because, if you're reading all that, I was a pretty good reader by the time I was a junior in high school. I could read pretty well. I thought I could anyway. Maybe I sucked. I don't know.
Well, now, Dan, you moved here in '82 to LA. Where did you move from?
I'm originally from Wisconsin, and then I went to school in North Texas for 4 years, and then I went on the road for 6 months with Al Pearson Big Band USA, which was somebody coined it. They said it was $350 a week and all the pride you could swallow.
Hey, my first road gig was $350 a week, and that included per diem.
Let me tell you something, man. I learned a lot on that band. I got to thank him years later for that experience.
Yeah.
But I did that for 6 months before he fired me, and then I kind of moved back to Wisconsin for about 2 months just to sort of get my bearing and figure out if it was going to be, L.A. or Chicago or New York. But I knew it was going to be L.A. And so at the urging of my father, he just said, "You need to get somewhere, buddy. you shouldn't be here anymore." And so I moved to LA in '82.
And I guess within 6 months you got the gig with the Woody Herman Band?
That's correct.
Were you playing lead or were you section?
I played lead, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I did the gig. I joined the band the day after the Monterey Jazz Festival, and I met them up in Northern California. They flew me up there, and then I quit the band at the Monterey Jazz Festival the following year.
Wow. The circle of life.
There you go.
So, but you've also toured with Tom Jones, Brian Setzer, Al McKay, Phil Collins, Neil Diamond, and Gordon Goodwin, it says here. So,
there you go.
were those all road things, or were you doing sessions for them as well?
Well, we recorded some stuff for Phil and for Neil, and actually for Johnny. I never recorded.
And Brian
for Tom
Setzer as well.
Jones.
Yeah, you did sessions with
Setzer, but not for Tom Jones. He always. We could never figure that out. We're like, you're trusting us to like 200 shows a year, but you don't want to give us, the chance to come and record new music with you. It was kind of odd to me, but his producers had the guys they like to use in LA and in London and such. So it makes sense now, but at the time I remember going, "Come on, man."
Well, I talked to a lot of, artists that said the same thing. They didn't know why they didn't use their touring band for the sessions. We just don't do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
But I mean, if you could have me on lead trumpet on your record, in the '80s, or you could have, Gary Grant. You're gonna get Gary Grant. I don't blame him a bit.
Yeah, and now you've also done a ton of movies: Incredibles 2, Coco, La La Land, The Brothers Warner, Tag, Pearl, Chips, Tangled, Horrible Bosses, and stuff like that. Now, and Wayne says you guys do like a ton of stuff together.
Seems to be.
Yeah. Including today's session, which we don't have to talk about. We don't have to talk about this session.
Sometimes the sessions are just like the memorable, wonderful experience where you leave there with, feeling really good about it. And then there was today where I left pissed off and called Dan on the cell phone immediately when I got in my car to vent. So
he was in his car driving away, and he rolled the window down. He said, "Make sure your phone's on."
You'd think after all these years they would just get easier. But let's talk a little bit. Hey, Mike, I was looking at your bio, and that Septet album, the Lapit Rocha Septet First Take album, is out. When was that released?
It came out on my birthday in 2018, so August 21st, 2018, we released the record and had a big show at the Blue Whale in Los Angeles, which unfortunately was a casualty of the pandemic. Super sad. That venue was really great. But it had a great turnout. It was really fun putting the record together. Hey, you bring me one too, all right? And it was cool putting it together. It's all original music, and having the guys over to the house to rehearse the whole thing up, and then we did it with no editing. So we went in the studio and we set it up kind of old school style and like an old Art Blakey record. And so we're all in one room. We were at room 1 at East West, and just did it live. So we did it, little trivia here. The record is called First Take, but we did do 2 takes of each tune. But everything is one complete take, which is kind of cool. So I love that human element of music. Right. I'm not super huge on like the ultra polished, perfected stuff. I love hearing people make a mistake and what they do in that moment, as that's kind of like being juggled. What choices are getting made, or I really like that. Especially recovery can be such a beautiful thing, and I don't know. I just really value hearing that in music rather than, we've gone through and we've made all these edits to the music, and now it's this perfect thing that there is not one flaw in, and everyone will love it. It's like, yeah, that's cool too. It is, but
must
I just
hate
come
my
from.
Record.
No.
Must hate my records too.
You just hate it.
Hey, can we just mute him? Get rid of him, Billy. We just Dan and I will do this.
You sure Dan Savant wasn't around?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's really a product of technology. Like as technology gets better, you now have that available to you. You can stitch little tiny things. You can pitch correct to an nth degree. You can do all kinds of stuff. So if it's available, you may as well use it. It's my personal record, so it was like I can do whatever I want. I don't care about what you guys think. You want all that?
Yeah,
shit.
I noticed it's pretty out of tune on some stuff there. So yeah. Thanks for the disclaimer on all that stuff.
Wade's gonna send some notes. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, if I can just piggyback off of that, I completely agree with you.
Likewise.
With all of that, because there's a lot of music that I listen to that I just go, oh man, that can't be duplicated live.
Mm.
And that perfect. And to be honest with you, when I was doing my own records, my producer Gary Grant was going, oh, let's just punch in right here. Why do you have to take a breath? I go, I need a breath there. And he goes, well, we can just punch it. It sounds better without the breath. I go, but I won't be able to play it live then.
Yeah.
And so I did try, even though there was obviously several takes on my things and I overdubbed most of my solos and stuff, I did try to keep the human element in it so it could all be played, and
yeah.
But
I mean,
your
go
comments,
ahead,
Mike, about wanting to keep the imperfections and playing yourself out of a corner and all of that. I think that's my favorite part of listening to a jazz soloist. That's why I love Woody Shaw so much. You can see him just stop and get stuck, and then just do his little sort of high thing, and then come out of it just ripping. And I think there's great beauty in that, and authenticity in it, and I respect you for that, man.
Well, that's
for sure, and
that's what it is. That's what jazz is. So.
And all of us here on this call, and probably a majority of the people in the chat room, we're all live players. You grow up a live player, and then you become a studio player. It's typically the route. I don't know many people who've gotten really good at music just practicing alone at home only. Right? It's a team sport that you practice on your own, but then you got to get with the team. And we all learn live, and we learn how to manage it. I mean, even on the Fat Band, shit can go wrong, and it's like what happens in the moment, right? I mean, I was there for Ray Brinker's first gig, and almost crash and burned on Rhapsody in Blue. I love you, Ray. You're my guy. But I heard it. We all heard it. It's all good. I fuck up too. But the point being that there's masterful stuff in that. When you hear a masterful musician mitigating those mistakes and what they choose to do in that moment. Maybe they played a note and it actually surprises them, and they're like, whoa, I didn't mean to play that note. But how can I now turn that note into a meaningful phrase in my music that now sounds like it was actually determined that I was going to play that note previously or something. Like Thelonious Monk always said, if I play the shit 3 times, it wasn't a mistake.
Well, who are you guys? Who do you listen to, or who would you recommend? Any of our listeners who aren't already, aficionados of the trumpet players, who would you recommend they listen to? Wayne, who's some of your favorites?
Well, I mean, right now, I'm into a few different cats. I listen to a lot of classical trumpet players, but I really dig this cat named Till Bronner. And he's a German trumpet player, and he's very Jack Sheldon, Chet Baker influenced. He sings, and he's one of the most beautiful trumpet players I've ever heard. Matter of fact, I have one of his solos that's transcribed right here.
Oh, wow.
So very accessible music and lyrical, and his playing moves me when I listen to it. There's not a note I don't like. Of course, I love all the cats that we'd all say. We're all influenced by Miles and Freddie Hubbard and Clifford and Lee Morgan and Fats Navarro and a gazillion cats and local cats we grew up with. Dan and I, Chuck Finley, we wore him out, and Bobby Shue, and they're players I still listen to this day. And there's dozens more. So, but right now, Till Bronner is kind of my cat, and Mike Rocha, of course.
Mike who?
Because Mike, I can steal stuff from him. He gives me stuff. I know him.
Dan, what about you? Any other names you want to add to that lovely list?
I'll jump on the Till Bronner bandwagon there, man. He's brilliant. But the one I'm listening to most often now is Alex Sipiagin.
Oh yeah, he's another cat. Yeah.
It's just an extension of Woody Shaw. I've always been drawn to Woody Shaw. I first heard Woody Shaw when I was 16. Heard him live, was the first exposure I had to him in 1975, and it's just he's just always been the one for me. And Alex has taken that and beyond. It's just he honors Woody so beautifully. I think he's really one of my favorites for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
And Mike Rocha, of course.
Okay, two votes for Mike. And Mike, how about yourself?
Well, one cat kind of off the beaten path that I really like from the mid-30s is a cornetist named Rex Stewart, who I think is a super cool player. He involves a lot of things in the music that I really like that are very like emphatic. He's not really a bebop player. He involves a lot more of like rips and growls and quotes, and it makes the solos really exciting to listen to. Like I said, very emphatic, and I like that influence in the trumpet. I think eighth notes get a little old after a while, and you got to figure out some other shit to do. And he was all about finding all the fun stuff that is idiosyncratic to the trumpet, so doing all this fun, like, kind of sonic things. But yeah, Rex Stewart's really cool. And then new guys, shoot, man, there's a lot of them. There are a lot of new cats, and especially with now social, you really get a taste of like who's up and coming and who's got next. But no, I don't like any new guys really. No, I'm
Bob
kidding.
Brookmeyer said that one time.
Yeah, right.
They asked him if there was any up and coming guys. He said no.
There's a ton, man. There's great players in, oh God, everywhere. There's great players. I mean, I feel like you don't have to even look that far. It really comes down to your flavor. What do you like? You don't got to like everything, and that's what I tell a lot of my younger students. I'm like, figure out what you don't like. It's easy to like everything or just throw on a record and be like, oh yeah, it's cool, I like it, but I want to hear what you don't like about it too. Really pinpointing that stuff and getting into the depth of that. But Ambrose is cool. Everybody knows him. It's a little more avant-garde, but man, the melodicism is actually there, and his rhythm is really cool. He's got a lot of cool rhythmic stuff, and to me, that's a big draw. I like rhythm a lot. I like color a lot. But then I just end up playing a lot of eighth notes.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to this guy? These other two guys recommended Mike Rocha. Do you ever listen to him?
I try not to.
Well, speaking of which, hey Mike, do you feel like playing something for us? Now, I just want to say, Wayne and Dan had like a 12-hour session today, so they're excused from playing. But Mike said he felt fresh as a daisy before the show. And Mike, do you want to play something for us? I see you've got your Charlie Parker Omnibook open behind you.
Oh yeah. Well, always recommended. Study from the masters. Bird was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh,
and he was nice. Yeah.
Gotta have your little H.L. Clark. You gotta get it in. But,
Yeah, I want to hear Clark number 2, A major, quarter note equals 144, low octave. Go.
Here, real quick though, I do have a couple things that I want to share that I feel like the musicians in our audience and maybe even Wayne and Dan will get something cool out of. But there's a free
musicians and Wayne and Dan.
Thanks. How do you mute this fucking guy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to share this, and then I want to hear how you got fired from Al's band.
Yeah, somebody actually asked him. We have somebody in the audience who actually said he used to play in Al's band and was curious how you got fired, but you don't have to tell the story if you don't.
Oh, it does say that. Oh, I'll tell you what happened. He wanted us. He had really strict rules about behavior on the bandstand and off the bandstand, and I didn't want to, adhere to them. And because I was 22 and I was a hot shot, and I was just a rebel, and he finally had enough of it, and so he wrote a whole list of rules, and then he had us sign it, or we were fired. And so I refused to sign it, and I wrote on there something like, I refuse to sign this testimony of obedience or something like that. Wow. And when I showed up for the next leg of the tour, I was staying with my folks at the time after college, and so I drove from Kenosha, Wisconsin down to Chicago to meet the bus. And when I walked onto the bus with my stuff, there was a guy sitting in my chair. And that's how I knew I got fired.
Wow.
And the guy looked at me like, sorry, man. And I was like, what the, and so I said, what's going on here? And he said, he says, when you get your own band together, he said, you can make up your own rules. And he just basically, hit the curb, buddy.
Wow.
And I said, you could have called me. I didn't need to make this drive down here. He goes, yep. and that was that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the best thing that could have happened, because the truth was I wore out my welcome on that band, and I was, really ready to move on to whatever was next. And it sort of pushed me in that direction. And like I said, I did get to see him. I was on the Neil Diamond tour, and he was playing in the city we were in Indianapolis, and I got to go up to him, and the band was exactly like it was when I was on it, 20 years earlier, and I told him who I was, and he was gushing, and I got to thank him, for what I learned on that band. Oh, it really prepared me well to when I got on Woody's band, which is why I took the gig. I wanted to have some road experience before I got on Woody Herman's band or Buddy Rich, or hopefully that would have happened. It's kind of putting that out there already in my manifesting it maybe, and so it helped a lot, because when I got on Woody's band, I was terrified, man, and it was, you hit the ground running on that band. There's no rehearsal. You're just in concert tonight, and it was a lot for me. And but the one thing that wasn't hard about it was I knew how to live on the road. I knew what it was to live off a bus. And, it was all good.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, you wanted to talk about something, and then we're going to hear you play.
Is there a way for me to share a link?
Yeah, can you text it to me, and I can put it up on the screen? Or I can put it in the chat rooms. For me to put it on the screen, you'd have to run through some things.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get it into the chat room. But anyways, what it is as I'm getting it ready to go here, is Berkeley, my alma mater in Boston. They put out a free play-along series of contrafacts. So if you don't know what a contrafact is, it's a new melody written over an existing set of chord changes that are popularized set of chord changes. So this song called Dizzy is a contrafact of his tune Woody and You, and it has a different melody to it. And so he's done it for blues in 12 keys, and then a bunch of different standards, a lot of AABA, ABCD, all kinds of different standards. It's free to download and print, and the rhythm section is killing. So you should all have this.
I put it in the chat rooms. I will also put it in the in the newsletter that goes out next Monday.
Yeah,
I
so
add links from the shows, and this will also be on the show notes for the podcast and the show notes online as well.
yeah, so all the heads are written by Hal Crook, and he was kind of like the big time guru out on the East Coast. A lot of people would fly from all over the world to spend time and take lessons with him, and he's written several books that are all amazing. I can't recommend them highly enough. I don't get paid to recommend them. I just know that they're really, really awesome and have helped improvisers across the board. But if you're looking for some good play-alongs that aren't Jamie Ebersol, because those are, I don't know, they're just not the best.
Right.
But these ones are really good. So, and they're free. So go download them right now, and I'll play a little bit of one, and we can all
Wait till the
just.
show's over before you leave to download them. Oh, but I'm
You
on the
just
page
keep-
right now. Oh yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Wow.
Yeah, open a fresh tab. Don't close this tab.
Yeah.
And Wayne and Dan can take a bathroom break and get a fresh beer, and I'll play the break music here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna actually play that tune, Dizzy. So it's contrafact of Woody and You, and yeah, here goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Rocha.
Oh God.
Don't suck.
Little taste of Dizzy from the book. Get the book. It's free.
Nice, Mike.
I've got the page right here. So very cool. Hey, I'm going to take a minute now. I just want to say hi to the people in the chat room, and then I'm going to do my commercial for what's coming up. So basically, we have a bunch of regulars here. Wayne is here from Wisconsin, and Joyce is here. And so is Phil from Ontario. And Toby is here, of course. And Normalized, I don't know his real name, but he's the one that said he played in the Pearson band. And he noticed the Omnibook in the background as well. But we also have, I want to say Kathy, C-A-T-H-E, Swearington says, "Hi, Mike. Congratulations on the new baby. It's coming up."
Thank you.
And
you
we
so
also,
much.
Rick Russell's here,
Hey-
and he says, "What's
Hey,
up,
Eric,
Mike?"
Eric Weiss, I was more of a spot guy than a big star, just so you know. There you go.
Oh, okay. You're able to look at the chats as well. Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got them both going on Facebook and in YouTube. But that's all the people. But let me do this really quick. I just want to play, if I can find out where it is, number 8 here, so I can talk about what's coming up on the show. You know, for those of you who are new, and we hope you come back every Thursday night. We have a live jazz band in the studio playing, and this Thursday, 2 nights from now, it's Lyman Medeiros, bass player, and Grant Geisman, the guitar player, who you've all heard play the solo on Chuck Mangione's Feels So Good. And the week after that, it's the Brad Rebuchin Quartet, and that's going to be with Andy Suzuki and Mark Ferber, and the bass player is the ever-popular To Be Determined. But that'll be fun. The following week, it's Kerry Frank Trio, and Dan Cole's playing guitar, and Mark Ferber's playing drums again. And then after that, we have the Jimmy Brandley Trio coming in. He's doing a CD release party. Jimmy is one of the top drummers here in town, and that's with Will Brahm on guitar and Ahmet Turkmenoglu on bass. Coming up after that, we have Jeff Pfeiffer and Socrates' Trial. Jeff's a young tenor player here in town. He's got a really cool fusion band, all original compositions, really great stuff. We're trying to showcase more younger cats, at least one a month, people that you may not even be aware of. And then after that, Tom Rizzo, the guitar player, is coming in with another quartet. Adam Cohen, I don't know who the drummer is yet, but Joanna Rose is going to be singing with him. And then after that, it's the room ensemble. That's Dimitris Mahlis, Chris Wabich, and Dan Lutz. And the week after that, me, Larry Steen, and Chris Wabich are playing. We're booked through the beginning of May. We'll do another jazz roundtable. That's the second Tuesday of each month. But anyway, that's the commercial. We hope you come back. Get on the mailing list. I don't spam a ton or anything like that. But let's get back to the guys. Are you guys ready for the game show?
Uh-oh.
This is something I thought of this afternoon, and I did a kind of a cool graphic for it. It's called What is What? We're going to play some trivia and see how much the guys know about the trumpet. Sounds like a great idea. See, the audience loves it. So I think I'm just going to do this. If any of you knows the answer, just, buzz in.
Buzz in.
Okay. Here's an easy one. Which U.S. state quarter features the trumpet? Or features a trumpet?
What?
Which
Louisiana.
U.S. state quarter?
Is it Louisiana?
It is not, but you're pretty close.
French Quarter.
But
Hindquarters.
any guesses?
No.
Kansas.
No, it is Tennessee. It also has
Son
a
of a-
guitar and a fiddle, along with the banner proclaiming musical heritage. The trumpet represents the jazz and blues the state is known for. Okay,
That
so
is
we
just
still got an even
fascinating.
number.
Boy, that's some
Tennessee.
information I'm glad I have now.
And you're really going to like this one. Yes or no, was trumpet playing ever an Olympic sport?
Should be.
Feels like it.
Felt like it today.
Yeah, in the Greek Olympics, they actually had an event for heralders and trumpeters, and a guy
Get outta
named
here.
Herodoros won 10 years in a row. And he was
I love that.
says he won 10 consecutive contests, was a huge man responsible for inspiring soldiers to win a battle by blowing two trumpets at the same time.
There you go.
Oh,
Wow.
Two
But I don't know
trumpets.
if he didn't have a range like Wayne, but he did.
Not
Who
me.
Okay.
does? You know.
I
who
knew
does?
a guy that could play three trumpets at once, but anything more than two is a cheap theatrical trick.
Nice.
Okay.
This is a shout out to Skip Wagner in Milwaukee, man, up in Three Lakes, Wisconsin. He played two trumpets at once. He was very, very kind to me when I was up and coming, and let me play with his band. And he could play harmony on that thing and pull off some Herb Alpert and play both parts
Oh,
at the
that's
same
funny.
time.
Wow,
He's
that's
a really,
amazing.
really great musician. He's in his late 80s right now and slowing down. But well, I tell you what, if I could, worldwide say the name Skip Wagner, he was a great, great musician, man, great cat.
Awesome.
That always blew me away. I mean, I can understand playing two saxophones, but two trumpets, that just seems unbelievable.
Wild, man.
Yeah. Okay, now this one is I don't know if this is a tough one. You guys may know this. What is the highest note performed on a trumpet and who played it?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. It wasn't. But it would probably be somebody like, Cat Anderson, or I'm guessing, it
Johnny
was a-
Madrid.
Well,
yeah.
it says here, the internet tells me, so I have no reason to doubt it. It said it was a quad C, 5 octaves above the low C on trumpet. And it was
What?
played by both Michael Schmidt and Mark Van Cleve. Not common names, I don't think.
Can we
No,
get
Mark
an
Van
audio
Cleve's
example?
Mark
Yes.
Van Cleve is a marvelous trumpet player, man, and got a ton of range.
Yeah, that's
So is that a above triple C? Are they talking about?
yeah, 5 octaves above triple C, above middle C, above low C on a trumpet, 5 octaves up.
That's a high note.
Octave above that one?
I guess.
I got to hear it.
I'm gonna have to double check the facts on that. Okay.
Well, this is.
I want to hear it in the
I
bebop
see.
line too.
Well, now
I
you
see
know who to
double
have in
C.
your next podcast.
Maybe it's so
Yeah.
high, nobody can hear it, so you can't claim it isn't true.
Yeah.
Well, what
The thing about high note trumpet, it seems to be fascinating to a lot of people.
it is.
But really, and we all have range here, but the meat and potatoes of the trumpet, where high trumpet sounds good to me, is high C to maybe, if you've got a good A, that's the exciting range. That's where the power is in the trumpet. You start getting above double high C, and it's a good theatrical trick and all, and I've been guilty of playing some of those notes myself. But really, it doesn't really move me anymore. Where I used to get excited about it and go, oh, wow, listen to that note. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's the
I
acrobatics.
just want to hear
of
good swinging
musicianship.
lead trumpet. That's all I want to hear.
Okay.
Hey, Wayne, I got a question for Wayne real quick. When you were younger in LA and you started to get busy in the recording scene and people weren't writing for you per se like they do these days, right? Everybody knows that you're going to be on the session. They write a part for you. Back then, what was the working high note? Was it a double A?
I mean, there was G's that, I'd get on a movie call, I'd be playing fourth, but I would see they would have F's and G's and, occasionally. Just depends on the picture, of course. Most of it, and that stuff was orchestral in nature anyway, but occasionally we'd have stuff to play. And I frankly, that's kind of how I got in. I was a good enough player to get in there on some sessions, and then something might come my way because I had an A, maybe nobody there had an A, and so it would come to me, and then somebody go, oh, who the contractor would come over, and go, oh yeah, get your book, I got some dates for you next week, so
right.
That's how it can evolve that way, It's the kiss of death though, because as Dan can tell you, the second somebody says, oh, that person's a jazz player, Mike Rocha's a jazz player, that's the kiss of death, because it's saying you can't do anything else. Or Dan Fornero,
right.
Oh yeah, he just plays lead. Where Dan proved today, sitting next to me, played a whole day of concert band music, and both of us played very convincingly, I thought. I don't think we were Maurice Andre, and but we did a very convincing job. And so, we're all trying to make ends meet here, but if they pigeonhole you, if you're just a classical player, it limits what they're going to call you for.
Yeah.
But that contractor wouldn't have said, open up your date book just because you had the double A if you weren't bringing the goods on the rest of it also.
Of course. Yeah. So.
And one more question, Wayne. I have a question coming from a friend. They wanted me to ask you if you could talk about your fourth valve.
Well, this is something I've been through a lot of shit the last couple of years. I went, I don't want to talk about poor Wayne. I got knocked down with throat cancer, and it took me down for the count. I could not play, and I had to. It took me a long time to put my act back together. And then I got hit in the lower mandibular nerve in May with a Novocaine needle, and my whole side of my face went numb. And this is still numb right here, and it's been almost a year. So I got knocked down to my knees twice, and I'm kind of outside the box player, and I solve problems by doing weird things like opening the spit valve, which I call the fourth valve, because it takes all the walls down between the notes. So if you're trying to get back into the upper register after you haven't played there in a while, those walls between the notes make it very difficult. But you open the spit valve, and it loosens everything up. And I've shared this with students that couldn't get above, let's say they have a high G or something, and they had very difficulty getting over that wall. I would say, try opening your spit valve when you play that note. And I've had pretty good success with them getting up into that. I call it the attic. You got to get through the door into the attic, and then there's a bunch of cool notes up there that you may have not discovered yet. So that's my fourth valve is that. And I'll just show you another thing. This is not my main trumpet. I left my trumpets at work today. This is one of my spare horns. But I also will take the third slide out like this. And I usually do this when they're trying to hit that high A. Instead of blowing through all this tubing and going through this bell, they don't have their air moving correctly. And so I'll have them play it third valve so it comes out of this tube. And it makes the note a lot easier to play. I mean, you can play the note sort of easily. It's not very loud, but it'll give them the feeling of what that note feels like. And a lot of people look at this stuff I do and they go, oh, that's a bunch of BS. He's a witch. Don't listen to him. But these are just little tricks and little things to experiment with. I mean, I've seen piccolo trumpet players play the Brandenburg Trumpet Concerto, taking that fourth slide out and playing that high A and that through that tube because it comes out easier. And that's what made me think of that. And through my own problems I was having coming back from this radiation, I had a lot of trouble centering notes that used to be very good for me. And by doing stuff like this is how I relearned to play them again.
Interesting.
So that's my fourth valve, is the spit valve.
Yeah, Kathy asked that question, and then Rick. Mike, were you listening to Rick's question? He just asked, what would you tell a high school student who wanted to build their range?
Oh no, the fourth valve question is
Okay.
extremely personal to Wayne, and I wanted to hear that story. And then all of a sudden, I got a free lesson because I had no idea about the third slide for the double A.
What would you guys recommend for high school kids trying to build their range on the trumpet?
I would say, if I can chime in, I would say get rid of the word build. And I would replace that with discover. Because I'm a product of that myself. And my drummer in my high school band, who knew nothing about the fucking trumpet. Sorry, I shouldn't be cursing on here. There might be kids watching. Nothing about that darn trumpet. He just liked high note trumpet. He would pick up my horn. Doesn't even know what the notes are, and would just go. And he would just, like he saw Maynard Ferguson doing that, and he could play a double high C louder than I could with zero training, and doesn't even know what the notes are. So getting the physics equation right here through experimentation, airspeed, jaw, lip pressure, doesn't mean you don't practice.
Yeah.
Because you practice to discover those things. And, you get some guidance from somebody that might give you, somebody told me to put my jaw out when I played, even though I could already play high, and all of a sudden the notes came out easier. So there's little things you do that'll get you to over that next hump. What do you think, Dan? What would you suggest?
I mean, I can only go by my own experience, and the way I discovered, the higher register was by playing along with records that I liked. And those were like, Maynard records and Chase records and stuff. And other big band records, Stan Kenton records, and just trying to figure out what that music was. It just sounded so cool and just kind of, I wore it out, man, in my basement. I put on the record player and just go and go until I was just beat to a pulp. And I did that a lot, and eventually figured out how to play up there, but, a more practical approach would be to honestly just, practice your Clark studies a lot, just develop some face, and then your abilities just seem to grow from there,
Yeah, you have to have the foundational, like I said, I developed a lot of bad habits from being able to play high when I was young. And I had to build a foundation after that. But now my building is really screwed up because the upper floor is like there and the foundation is not holding it up very well. So I went through a lot of chop problems and did a lot of things wrong that kind of screwed me up growing up that I had to undo later. I'm still undoing. I'm 64 years old. I'm still undoing bad habits. So what Dan's talking about, the foundational practice and stuff, all needs to be done. But with discovering that upper register, it really is a lot of experimentation. With jaw position, you see different trumpet players that move. You see maybe this or that, or maybe they come down one way or another when they go high. You look at Dan. Dan, you'll see movement when he goes into the upper register. Dan is usually more down when he goes higher. Arturo Sandoval, more up. Bell goes up. And so those little things change the direction of the air, maybe launch you into this other thing, the exception is Alan Mazzuti doesn't seem to move a muscle and can play every note on the trumpet, which is just unbelievable to me. But there is movement going on inside his mouthpiece you don't see, because to change those notes, things have to happen, obviously.
Well, we have another question. Richie asks, how would you go about learning to do a Harry James style vibrato?
Go ahead, Rocha.
Friggin' shake your hand. What's some of that shit he plays?
If you're going to play again, don't point directly at your mic. You were kind of overloading it last time. On the
Sorry,
massive
guys.
sound.
No worries.
Massive sound of yours.
Massive Harmon mute sound.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that. There's a tune of his I really like from a live record. That's really cool. But anyways, yeah, you can, when you watch videos of Harry play, he uses hand vibrato in order to intensify the width of it and even the speed of it. And back then in those bands, Glenn Miller, essentially the white bands, Harry James, the vibrato of the entire sections would line up. They would pace them either using a duple or triple feel with the vibrato if it's doing triplets or say eighth notes or even 16th notes with the vibrato. But yeah, I would move your hand. Like your right hand, just give a little vibrato there.
USC
not a Harry
fighting
James
song.
I don't remember Harry ever playing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that asked
Yeah,
that question, Richie Thaler, is a very good trumpet player, young trumpet player. Great chops and good cat.
Listening would be a big key on all of that too. I think we end up emulating what we can hear. And
Yes.
so I would listening. If you want to play like Harry James, listen to Harry James. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
All the time.
I did forget to mention that Cassie was the first one in line to watch the show tonight, and she says hi, and she
Cassie.
she sent a heart emoji and then Wayne. So she loves Wayne.
Cassie's a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time.
And she is
And
actually
marvelous singer.
She asked the question about the fourth valve, I think.
Yeah, marvelous singer and great friend, and her husband happens to be Lee Thornburg, who is one of our idols here as well. Dan and I for sure. Lee is one of the most soulful. He played with Tower, and the Tower Power trumpet section. I mean, horn section never sounded so good.
Stone Cold badass, man.
Monster on a Leash, man. It's the best sections ever sounded, in my opinion. No disrespect to any of those great players that have done it, but that section was slamming. And anyway, he gets to be married to Cassie, though. What a lucky dude he is.
The thing we didn't really get to talking about, which I kind of wanted to, was about playing in a section. Is there anything you guys, any bits of advice, or we could just go the whole road story thing?
Oh my God.
People love those.
Could write a book on that.
I'm going to tell you, Dan Fornero and I, and now Mike is in the band, but Dan and I play a lot together and played a lot before I even met Mike. And Dan and I I feel we have a really good 1-2 punch together. Because besides being a great lead player, and Dan is truly one of my favorite lead players, in this town and anywhere. Dependable, good sound, good pitch, good time, but he's a rock solid second trumpet player, and that's not always the case with first trumpet players. Because Dan has he's got a big sound. He's got in LA here, the trumpet players tend to play. We try to play more orchestrally because we're trying to do that work. So we tend to have not such screechy sounds, the rounder. And Dan has that. So when he plays underneath me, I feel like I have this big bed to sit on, a cushion, and I try to give him the same luxury in return. And Mike, when he's playing in the section where he's playing second other, I feel that from him too. And I think it's one of the most important things that a lead trumpet player wants, man, is the support. And Dan has a sixth sense, like he can sense when I'm tired. And he knows the music well enough, so he'll get out of my way if I need room. Or if he knows I'm going to lay out on a unison, he'll step up his dynamic, half a dynamic, so you don't notice a sound change. So those things they seem like little trivial things, but man, they make a section sound great. So
that's the job. That's the job of a section player. I was taught by Steve Spencer my first year of college. He said the job of the section player is to make the lead player sound great. He goes, you can make that guy sound good, the band will swing, it'll be great,
Well, they'll want you back as well. You play with somebody, and you make their job easier. They go, oh man, it felt great when Dan was here. Let's get him back. When that Wayne Bergeron guy was here, he tried to play lead from the third book again. Like he always does.
So what's the state of work these days? Do you think is it coming back or?
Well, I'll jump in on this, man. Things have been coming back pretty good after COVID, much to all of our surprise. But when Omicron hit in at the end of December, it wiped out January and February pretty hardcore for my book anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, from all of us, I think.
Took a real hit, man. It wasn't fun. I feel like it's climbing back now. I'm very grateful for that. But the whole industry has changed so much, and whatever the future is going to bring for what's left of what we do, with it, being a globalization and the digital era where, everything can be done anywhere by really great musicians for less money, frankly, than it costs to do it in Los Angeles. It's a changing landscape for sure.
Did you do a lot of remote recording, Dan?
I was fortunate to get quite a bit of that. Yeah.
Good.
It really kept me alive during COVID.
Okay, well, we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour, and anybody have any last words of wisdom? Anything you want to tell people?
Can I give a shameless plug?
Yeah.
I did during COVID, while I was putting my face back together, and I was finding I had no place to play. There was no gigs at the time. So I created, much like Mike Rocha, I created a play-along, big band play-along app. It's Wayne Bergeron Play Along, and it's available at the App Store. But if you don't have an Apple phone, the same thing is available by download at a website called Addacat, ADDACAT.com. And it's 12 swing tunes that are all public domain, and Tom Kubis did them. And I played all the trumpets, and Andy Martin played all the trombones. Sal Zano played all the saxes. Tom Kubis played piano. Ray Brinker and Trey Henry on bass and drums. And they really came out great, and I found them a really valuable tool for practice, because nothing like we're saying, sitting around practicing exercises is not going to really do it. Nothing beats playing a gig. So what I would do is I just play these charts down from top to bottom, count every rest, play the intro, crank up the speakers so you can play like a lead trumpet player and play. Their parts aren't too high, so they're accessible, by a strong high school player. And I'm getting really rich off this, by the way. It's just like, I just got my first royalty check the other day, and I was thinking about I was going to buy a strip mall, but I only had enough to buy a stripper, so I settled for what I could get. So anyway, that's my shameless plug, and I've got volume two coming up. That's in the can here in my studio, and
well, I will put those links in the newsletter and in the show notes and all that sort of stuff. But anybody else? Yeah, Dan, you got anything to plug?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good, man.
Mike?
Hey, Wayne, I've got the Addacat website pulled up here, and I noticed that each of the instruments costs $30 each. Do you know if there's a way to get that for free?
Well, for you, I you happen to know the right person.
I'm just playing. No, these look great, man. These are super cool.
But the app, the cool thing about the app is it's $9 or $10. And if you got an iPad, you've got a controller there and all this. With the download, you get the chart, and you get an MP3 with your instrument and without it. And so it's a little bit limited. But it's good. It's really great. It's great quality. It's recorded top notch, no expense, no expense basically, because everybody did it for free. But it really sounds great, and fun. It's a really good workout. I remember when you were putting it out. It's, what an amazing practice tool for anyone in the band. Yeah, and you can blow a solo on it if you want, but it gets pretty long-winded if you're playing the lead part and a solo and all that. So. Right. So yeah. So that's the only thing I'm plugging right now. And I know Billy, you asked me if I had a plug, and no. What I actually would like to talk about was what I wanted to chime in on what Dan and Wayne were saying about Rick's question earlier about what would you tell a high school trumpet player to build their range, because I really liked everything that was said is extremely on point, thinking outside of the box and discovering your range. And then what Dan said was getting a face going. So like, for instance, I guess I'll plug Herbert L. Clark. I didn't write this, but get yourself a solid technical study book
and really hit this stuff. The idea is to not. It's not about high notes. It's about establishing a super strong foundation. Whether you're going to go to the Arbenz book, whether you're going to do technical exercises, it doesn't really matter so long as you're focused on playing great trumpet from like low C to high C. If you can get that really rock solid, then all of a sudden going above that high C starts to become, like Wayne said, the attic. You're discovering it. I don't have a great double A, but my G is strong, so I feel good about that at least. But, I think that that's what I would tell some youngsters is to really spend the majority of your time, probably 80%, 85, 90% on really building that solid foundation with the in regards to technique and music creation. When you're going to play one of the characteristics or the Arben songs in the back of the book, make sure that you're really understanding like what it means to make music and phrase and articulate correctly and understand dynamics and be able to control all that stuff on a deep level. Range will come. It will come. I mean, because this is my take. I didn't pick up a trumpet and screech out a double C. Like middle C, this tuning note C was my max, when I was, in 6th grade when I got my horn or whatever. So it was a longer road for me. But stay the course, stay the course and really practice. If you can fit 2 hours of practice in a day, like you're going to grow a lot. So just keep that in mind. And that's all I got to say.
Hey,
Bravo,
Mike,
Rocha. Bravo, man.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, Rocha. But to chime in on that, what you can do with those foundational things in the Arbenz book is play them up to your top of your range. Mm-hmm. So that might mean modifying some of those things. Playing one of those little etudes up a step maybe. So it stretches your ability. It's still within your wheelhouse to play all the notes. Maybe one of the notes is at the top of your, and you keep touching on that every day. And then maybe you go up, try to half step up. And you keep kind of touching on it and you get yourself familiar with what those notes feel like. And then when you go back down to the original key, it seems low. Yeah. So we can trick ourselves into making things easier than they seem, sometime. There's a lot of a mental game that goes on with
is and where your basement is, constantly pushing up against those things so that they keep going and going and going.
I hear Dan Fornero when he practices. Dan is a very diligent warm-up cat, man. He does this thing religiously every day. Every time I hear him, I can't even bother him when we're on the session. He's like just doing his thing. He's like, don't bother me till I'm done with this. And he leaves it on his face and he leaves it stuck there. And he's like in training. He's got the thing on his face and he's connecting the registers. And through that consistent practice every day and consistent foundational stuff that he does is why he's so consistent. If you just take that horn out of your case and go, I got it, and you start playing as loud as you can, you might survive one day. But if you don't do foundational stuff like an athlete every day, you're going to be very inconsistent.
And that's probably, from what I can tell, being a rhythm section guy, the trumpet, you're really relying on that foundation as much or maybe more than a lot of other instruments, right?
Yeah, this thing's a pain in the ass, man. It's like it's relentless, man.
It was once an Olympic sport.
It was.
Yeah, exactly.
And we went full circle.
Yeah. Hey, let me just do a couple of shout outs here. We have a bunch of comments coming in towards the end. Veronica says, wonderful show. Thank you for sharing your expertise so generously. Let's see, Andre, who is our most consistent tipper. He comes to every show and tips every show. Thank you, Andre. You can still tip if you're watching this on an archive or when you get done listening to the guys. You want to throw something in. That's how we pay the guys. Every little bit.
Come on, Andre, get out your gold card, man. Come on.
Let's see.
Crypto, baby. Crypto.
Andre says he's enjoying the conversation. Let's see. Steve says, my Generation 1 83356 LA has been taking a beating. Just quickly, how different is the second generation? Does that?
The second generation, I would say, if there's a difference, is it might be a little bit more resistant. Not that it's smaller, but the processing of the horn, the way they annealed the metal, there's a bunch of different things. There's different parts on it, and I asked for that because my horn is the original LA is pretty open, and I've always kind of liked open horn. Now that I'm older and I've gotten sick. And gone through some of this stuff in my life, I need a little bit more resistance. Matter of fact, I've even done it in my mouthpiece. created more resistance, easier, something to blow against, So,
So you
but
had
it's
a lot of input. You had a lot of input on these horns, Wayne.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Are they, so what does a model like that cost?
How would I know? It's our standard banter, Dan Fornero and I. He go, hey, those GR mouthpieces, Wayne, what do those cost? I don't know. It is a nice luxury to have, to be able to get some free stuff, man. I gotta tell you, man. It's a really a great trumpet, man. I stand behind it, and it's making a lot of noise in the trumpet world right now. A lot of players are calling me from New York and saying, I got this horn now, man. It's changed my life, so I'm very proud to be associated with it. Bob Malone was actually designed the horn, and he's the Yamaha R&D guru that's everything brass and knows everything. Big Fat Band is an all Yamaha trumpet section.
Wow.
Bob Malone.
Yeah, Bob Malone. Heck yeah.
Let me just do a couple more of these. Kathy says, great practice tips and growing tips. Thank you all. Then over here on the YouTube side, let's see, I guess Normalized Audio is a sax player, and he says, inspired by all you LA cats. Randy says, great show, all of you guys. Rick, thanks for the insight. Let's see. Oh, Daryl says, thanks for sharing. Rick says, thank you. And Matthew says, this was great, guys. Thanks. And Frank says, hey, Wayne, hi from Idaho. Love the mindset.
Awesome, man.
So I think we'll just call it a night there. We'll have to have you guys back, and maybe we can get you guys in the studio and do some playing, show some people what the best horn section in LA can do.
Let's do that, Billy. Let's come in. We'll put some ensemble stuff together, and we can talk about some of the things we talked about tonight and implement it. Maybe we'll do it incorrectly.
But then we can do trumpet night 2, higher, faster, louder.
Yeah. Well, we could do that.
Okay, well, let's say a big hand for Wayne Bergeron. Yes, thanks, Wayne. And then, of course, Dan Fornero and Mike Rocha. Also, you guys were fantastic. Thank you, everybody out there. Get on the mailing list. Come see us every Thursday night. It's live once a month. We do a talk show, different musicians and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to play the outro, if I can find the right
Thank you,
key
Billy.
for it. Hey,
thank you, Billy.
Thank you guys for doing this. And
thank you.
And we'll see you guys Thursday night.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us at Live at 0 BPM. These videos will be archived on YouTube and Facebook, so tell your friends. These Jazz Roundtable shows will also be released as a podcast, so please subscribe. Coming up on Thursday, March 10th, it's the Medeiros-Geisman duo featuring Lyman Medeiros and Grant Geisman. Showtime, 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific. Go to live@0bpm.com for details and to sign up for our mailing list. Also, find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. See you soon.